Welcome back to Interjections. Fresh off a just wild 2-1 win over Verona. What a match. We'll get into it. I'm your host, Andrew. Miko, what's going on?
Yeah, just got discharged from the hospital, but anyway.
Wait, what? This seems like a bigger story. What's going on?
No, it's just about the end of the match.
Oh,
yesterday.
Wow. A rare moment of Miko humor. My bad. I just
Finnish humor. Finnish comedy.
Finnish guy laughing the most. But yeah, Drew Patsa Inter stuff. Looking forward to discuss more about that.
Irfan, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Just a nice, typical calm Inter win. Business as usual. Casual as you like. No big deal. All good.
Jay, I hear you're currently losing money by betting against Milan. What a rookie move.
Yeah, for some reason, I decided to bet on Empoli beating Milan 2-1. It's already 2-0 to Milan, so I don't think my bet will come true. But yeah, what a simply ridiculous game.
Yeah, let's dive into this thing. What a weird game. This felt like something out of the banter era, honestly, just in terms of we played poorly. We somehow have a lead that we try to snatch away through a self-inflicted wound. I honestly don't know where to start, so I'm open with however you guys want to approach this. Miko, any initial thoughts on what was just a wild game?
Yeah, well, I don't think it was too wild until the end or until the Verona equalized.
Fair.
But yeah, I think it was like opposite of wild in a sense that we were really, I don't know what's the right word, maybe like lethargic, like completely disinterested in doing almost anything in the match. It felt like I don't know, like back in Mancini days when he had like those few Scudetto wins, and I remember how we played like some of these games we played like in like energy saving mode, and this felt like that. When we got that pretty early goal, after that it felt like players aren't like trying too much, they aren't like running too much, and they just felt like this kind of like a energy saving. And okay, this kind of match against Verona, they are pretty poor. It's a home match and everything, so it's like should be like a perfect place for that energy saving. But then again, I think you need to have some kind of caution with the goals when you have a 1-0 result and you are heading to the end of the match. Something like this can happen. What happened? What we saw. So I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, they got some kind of a learning experience from this one, as well as the like a Genoa match and so on. But it was pretty disappointing in a way that the approach in general. I understand it, but then I wouldn't want to see this kind of stuff ever again.
Maybe to your point, you can get away with playing as poorly as we did against the now 18th place Verona side, but if you try this against almost any other club in the league, you're going to lose this game. It was a lethargic performance for long periods. I find it funny if you look up the match highlights from like the official Seriea YouTube channel, they're 3 minutes long, and they're almost all from like the last 10 minutes of the match, because there just wasn't a ton of action in the lead up to the crazy 10 minutes. Jay, and any thoughts on Lautaro's return and maybe how I thought Thuram looked a lot better and was directly corresponding with Lautaro being back in the starting lineup.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad to see that he didn't miss a beat. Obviously, he scored. When did he score? Like 10, 12 minutes or something like that. So straight away, back on the scoreboard. Nice, very nicely worked goal between Thuram, Mkhitaryan, and Lautaro. So that was very pleasing, and I agree totally that Thuram looked a lot more confident and free-flowing with Lautaro beside him as opposed to Arnautovic or Sanchez. Yeah, that game was just... It was all the best and the worst of Inter, I guess. As you guys very accurately pointed out, it was worrying how lethargic we were. And the worst part was you could kind of sense that something was going to go wrong, you know what I mean? Just given the way we played. I think everyone felt nervous that Verona would equalize if we didn't get a second goal. And lo and behold, they did. And ultimately, I mean, look, it's due to maybe some extreme luck that we ended up leaving the match with a victory. I mean, not only did Montipo spill a relatively easy shot, obviously they missed the penalty right at the end. So those were huge. Those are two huge bits of luck in our favor. And ultimately we leave the game with a smile on our face and a kind of wild memory. But yeah, the performance was really bad. We couldn't string two passes together, especially in our transitions. The final balls were really, really poor. The team looked disjointed, and we, the Barella open goal thing, I mean, it would have been ruled out anyway, it seems, but the complacency to try and, you know what I mean, to try and tee up Sanchez there instead of just securing the 3-1 result was really, that really annoyed me, to be honest. And I thought Barella had a pretty good match, all things considered. But man, that moment was really disappointing. I was like, you got to be more merciless than that. Can't leave anything for granted. Obviously, they thought the game was done, and so he's like, "Oh, just give Sanchez a goal," and then he fucked that up anyway. So, but the attitude was just wrong, and it's now 2 games in a row against really easy teams that, or dare I say, easier teams that we've made the job really hard for ourselves. And I just hope that this isn't a sign of some typical Limone January collapse, and that hopefully these two games is where that ends.
Yeah, so for me, I think you're right. It's an interesting, that Barella Sanchez play was kind of summed up the entire night. The way we played, it was almost like incompetent, right? Like that's the way I felt like we came across. And the match itself, Lautaro's goal was awesome, like you said. Thuram did a great job with the hold-up play, and it was kind of more of like a vintage Inzaghi goal, Inter under Inzaghi goal, which I think was great. And then we just kind of lost control of the match. I heard you and Miko both say that it was kind of like a lackadaisical, like lack of effort, and to me that's pretty concerning, because I understand it's January and there's been holidays and all this sort of stuff, but ultimately we're only playing once a week right now, and last week and this week were separated by I think 7 days, almost 8 days. And we had very similar things to say about both performances. But to me, it's more a question of us playing down to the competition like we tend to do, versus lacking the intensity or the focus to take on bigger teams. I feel like when we play, Milan, Juventus, Napoli, when we're playing a side that's in the top, 5 or 6, I think we are more zoned in, we're more ruthless, we're more aggressive, we're more crisp in our execution. But against some of these lower tier sides, I feel like we don't have that, like you said, like that just ruthlessness to go in there and be like, all right, we're going to take care of business. We're going to take care of business early and easily, get up 3-0, and then we can coast. And that to me is a bit concerning, because it leaves you open to these types of sucker punch draws where you're leading most of the game and then you give up a goal. And credit to Verona, their goal was a really nice goal. There's really nothing Summer could do. The only criticism I think you could have is in our defense, Bastoni should have not like let in such a great cross. But Acerbi got beat on the run as well. So I don't know. It's one of those interesting dynamics, but I feel like it's more than a collapse. I just worry about our ability to kind of be ruthless against these lower sides.
Yeah, the thing that worried me was Miko pointed out last match that, okay, Genoa played pretty well. They did a good job, like, breaking up the run of play and just making our life difficult. I don't think Verona played particularly well yesterday. They didn't create many chances. I didn't think they were the reason our build-up play kept faltering. I don't think they were doing a great job intercepting passes or anything. It just felt like a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and I feel like a big part of this has been I've been a little disappointed by Gusto's performances on the wing, and maybe missing DeMarco's crossing has led to a lack of creativity in the side. I feel like when our team is out of ideas, we typically just get the ball to DeMarco and see what he conjures up. So it was a disappointing performance. Maybe let's get into what happened at the end of the match now. So first off, Henri comes on, and as Jay successfully predicts, he immediately equalizes things. So maybe break down the equalizer for us, Jay.
I don't know how much there is to break down. Like, I don't know whether that thing, or that incident with Arnautovic was a foul or not, to be honest. It looked like one of those that kind of could have gone either way, so I'm not really fussed one way or the other. But
it felt all like Sanchez against Milan, right? From a couple years back.
I don't know. I feel like Sanchez against Milan, where Giroud kind of just, ran into him and knocked him over. I felt like that would have been a clearer foul than what we saw against Arnautovic. But in any instance, ball goes to Arnautovic, he immediately loses it. And I think this was like his very first involvement or thereabouts after coming on. Loses the ball goes down the right flank or our left flank, and then Bastoni did not do a good job of defending that cross. I'm sick of seeing these guys like recoil from the ball. Like, I know you don't want to get hit in the nuts, when someone's trying to cross or whatever, but stick a bloody leg out. You know what I mean? You're supposed to make your frame, your silhouette larger at all costs, rather than what Bastoni did which was like bring his arms in towards his body and turn away from the ball, like you're afraid to get hit of it, like afraid to get hit by it rather. You can't do that. But in any instance, ball came in. Obviously, it came off Henri and then went into the net, and we're just in there looking like clowns. As you said, I mean, look, I thought Verona actually had better chances than us pretty much up until the last 10 minutes of the game. Don't forget, like, they had a shot inside our box directly at someone from like 3 meters away. That was in like the third minute or something. And then they had Milan Juric have a pretty much free header that also landed, or that went straight to Summer as well. So they did have better chances than us until the end part of the game, which was an indictment on our ability to string any attacks together. But I agree, they, aside from those kind of early chances, they weren't good defensively, and we definitely should have made a lot more happen with how poor they were defensively. And so it's frustrating that we just kept screwing up these final balls at the end. For example, Lautaro gets the ball and does a nice little interchange with Thuram, and then Dumfries is completely open down the right, and then the pass to Dumfries is just a tiny bit under hit. So then Dumfries has to slow down to receive the ball, and then, by that stage, Verona are back in position. Or Mkhitaryan gets the ball, gets past a player, gets it to Lautaro, and then, whatever, there's a chance to free Thuram, but then the pass is just completely off hit and it goes out wide or something like that. There were just all these instances where we do the right thing right up until a point, and then just when the ball needs to be correct, we completely mess it up, and that's extremely frustrating to watch. I hate this discussion because for me, it's just one of those things, but I guess we have to discuss it because it seems like everyone in Italy is going completely nuts about the off the ball collision between Bastoni and, was it Lazovic or one of the Verona players just before we equalised? Oh, sorry, just before Frattesi scored the second goal.
Yeah, there's
Thoughts? Duda, yeah.
Polish guy,
Thoughts?
yeah.
Foul? No foul? I mean, the behind angle, so the angle shot from like the fans in the stadium, there was a really good video which captured it. And from that angle, it looked completely innocuous. From the front angle, you can see Bastoni kind of put his arm a little bit further out, but the two kind of like had some, back and forth. Like Duda was pushing Bastoni during the corner, and they were like tussling. And then after the corner, I don't know, maybe they had a few words or just like call each other a dickhead or whatever. They both went to like kind of nudge each other, and then Duda just happened to go flying. So like, as far as I'm concerned, it's just one of those things in the game where you kind of bicker with your opponent and maybe like kind of shove each other a little bit, but Duda just came the worst off, and maybe he was looking to milk the foul. Bastoni maybe got a touch lucky, but I don't think it's worth anywhere near the amount of like outrage we're seeing in Italian media right now.
I think it was a former referee. Was it Rocky who came out after the match and said, this was a blatant foul and this goal should have been disallowed, which I found a little rich. Just I'm honestly fine if you want to make the argument the goal should have been disallowed. I don't really agree with it, but to act like this was a blatant decision one way or the other feels disingenuous to me. This is another one of those classic, kind of like the Lautaro penalty he conceded earlier this year in the box, where this kind of stuff happens. It's, if you get a referee in the bad mood, I could see who's any sort of physical contact or blowing the whistle, then this is going to be a foul the other way. But I'm always fine when a referee lets players get a little bit more physical. I'd rather, with that being said, I think the match was like this. I don't think there were many, if any, yellow cards, other than the red card for dissent late in the game. So I'm always cool when a referee is willing to let players be a little bit more physical with each other. It's a contact sport.
Don't want to get into some big debate about the way football is, but we need to slowly kind of stop rewarding players going down at every touch. You know what I mean? It's a contact sport, as you said. So, yeah.
Irfan, talk to me about Arnautovic, because he was a bit of a meme yesterday between his missed chances and block shots. And you can take your pick. For me, the most egregious is he had what was basically a free header on an empty net, and he managed to completely miss the ball or just graze the ball slightly enough that it didn't go in the net. He's our third forward. We'll get into the mercato discussion. It doesn't sound like any help's on the way. What do we do here? Do we start relying more on Sanchez? Do we just hope that he figures it out? I'm pretty concerned about this. Where are you sitting on this?
Yeah, I'm very concerned about it as well. I feel like it's a little unfair to criticize him too much for yesterday. I mean, I do think he was fouled in that build-up, and one thing I've noticed about him is the way he does his hold-up play. I don't know if he just invites the contact too much or what it is, but he's pretty much fouled every single time he turns his back to receive the ball. And there's another match recently where that was happening to him as well. And I think people have realized that that's such an important part of Inzaghi's kind of attacking play that they really zero in on making that forward's life extremely difficult. And so, I don't blame him for really getting dispossessed that much. I do think that was probably a foul. But ultimately, yeah, the misses are, they're starting to rack up a little bit now. And the goal that he did score, not in this match, but previously, was a fairly easy kind of tap-in type goal. So he has a lot to prove, I think. I'm not too concerned about him that much yet. I feel like just in general, our forward play outside of Lautaro needs to be better. Thuram, like you all said, was a lot better with Lautaro back, so maybe that'll kind of correct itself. But the problem with criticizing Arnautovic too much is that then you're saying you're kind of relying on Sanchez, and I feel like Sanchez once again is much, much worse. And so I really do hope that we bring in somebody in the mercato, because I'm concerned about the third and fourth forwards. But Arnautovic, I think he needs more playing time, and I think he needs to just get a little more crisp. Like, these forwards tend to be streaky, so I could totally see him going on a good run too. But Sanchez to me is like just kind of dead weight at this point. So I'm still more concerned about Sanchez than I am about Arnautovic. I think in the spots where Arnautovic is put in, he can come up with key contributions, even if it's not a goal. He can come up with a great assist like he did for Barella in the other match. But Sanchez to me just offers absolutely nothing. So I still think we need forward help, and I would like to see it. But it's not necessarily as much because of Arnautovic. I think it's more because of Sanchez.
I want to go back to that Verona goal and the so-called foul to Arnautovic. I don't think it was a foul. I think Arnautovic just played it like he didn't protect the ball too well or well enough. And I've always been pissed to Lukaku when Lukaku was at Inter, and he did those, tried to trap the ball and he failed it. And it was so frustrating to watch. I have to be fair here that I don't like when you lose the ball so easily in that position. But at the same time, I need to point out that in that play, it was Dimarco. He was like running at full speed on the flank when Arnautovic got the ball. And when he lost it, it was like open season on the defense on our left flank at that moment. So I'm not sure if that's like if that was a correct decision by Dimarco to go full speed already when Arnautovic hadn't got the possession yet. It was only coming to him, the ball, or he wasn't he hadn't the possession, so he lost the ball immediately, and then it was the counter attack. As for Arnautovic, I'm the official Arnautovic guy of this podcast, so I have to defend him, but he made it.
Of course, he's over the age of 35.
Yeah, he made it really hard for me yesterday because, that was just bad stuff. No arguing that, but of course there has to be a silver lining somewhere, and the silver lining is what Inzaghi said also, that he said that he would be worried if Arnautovic wasn't getting these chances at all, if he was nowhere around, but he is there, and I feel like Arnautovic is having a big pressure when he's playing in front of the home crowd, because he hasn't scored. He hasn't scored at all at Meazza yet. And he's visibly frustrated there whenever something goes wrong with him in that stadium. And I think it starts to build on him now, and we really, or at least I'm hoping that he would get that goal as soon as possible, because he got the assist against, was it the Lecce match or what was it? And the whole team, even Barella, the goal scorer, where they went to hug him, and it was a big thing for him to create that goal and all, but still it's the goals and the scoring goals what is the real thing for the forwards, obviously. So I think it's a tough moment for him because he needs that goal badly.
That's one of the selectable responses in Football Manager. I remember back in I think I played Football Manager 2013. and then when one of your players is playing like shit, the media asks you, aren't you worried about this player playing badly? And then you can give responses on like a scale of like negative to neutral to good, and the good response is, I'm glad that he's getting in these positions to score, and then even if he's not scoring
exactly.
right now, at least he's getting in those situations. But I don't know. I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out, to be honest. I think this is heading towards being a disaster of a transfer if it's not already there. And the same applies for Sanchez, maybe even less so for Sanchez. Like I'm also agreeing that Arnautovic is probably less useless than Sanchez, but given the cost difference, that might sway the argument back towards Arnautovic. At least Sanchez was free, and at least he's only on a 1-year deal. But I don't know. I felt that game was a huge indictment, not just on Arnautovic himself, but on our forward recruitment. I mean, even if we go back to like episode 1 of this podcast, I believe we were discussing the risk of going into the season with 2 like mid-30 players as your designated backups. We were asking, are they even going to be fit to be the backups, like physically fit? And they've already proven the answer is no, because both of them have missed large stretches of the first half of the season. So as far as availability even goes, they're not ticking that box. Are they going to be putting up acceptable numbers? The answer seems like no, because both of them are not really scoring or assisting with very much regularity, even as backups. And the third and final question is, can they at least act as a competent kind of placeholder in the team in terms of how we play? Can they facilitate that Inzaghi ball the way any replacement in a system needs to do its part in the greater machine? And I think that's a no as well. So on all 3 fronts for me, both those forwards, and I know I kind of have a tendency to group them, and maybe that's unfair, but Arnautovic/Sanchez are, like I said, really barreling down that D rating of a transfer at this rate. And it really, when I asked Irfan last week on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does it worry you that we're not signing a forward in January? I can't remember what you said, like 1,000 or whatever, but after that game, it's probably 10,000, because if there was ever a clearer advertisement needed, then that game was it. If he's not even scoring, that header was just comical. So it was almost sad at that point. And then you see someone like Tottenham go and sign Timo Werner on a 6-month loan. And it's just like, they're paying the salary and they have an option, and that's it. And there's no expensive loan fee or anything like that. So again, I ask the question, is there no forward anywhere in Europe that we can get on a 6-month loan on a similar deal? Just pay their wages for the remaining 6 months of the season, maybe get an option, or maybe not. I don't even care about the option, but is there no one we can bring in? And more to the point, why are we not even considering it? Is it a question of the management trying to save face for this disastrous for these hires in Sanchez and Arnautovic, and trying to ensure they come good by giving them time and not giving them up too easily? But is that what it is? I don't honestly know what it is. It feels extraordinarily stubborn.
But is that the first thought you have in your mind? Like, what about the financial restrictions the management usually get from the ownership?
Well, at that point, you'd have to kind of go back and say it was pretty financially irresponsible to even bring these guys to begin with, especially Arnautovic as a 34-year-old. Again,
but that's in the summer. Like, now is now, so it's you need to
true. Well, look, what's done is done, and there's no point
yeah.
crying over spilt milk. But again, are you telling me we don't have a couple 100,000 in the bank to just pay some guy's salary for 6 months? I mean, there's surely got to be some guys in the lower half of Serie A, and why does it have to always be Serie A? Why can't we just hire from? I mean, there's so many teams right now struggling financially in Spain as well. A lot of the kind of traditionally bigger, medium-sized teams, Sevilla, Valencia, Villarreal, all these guys are having pretty tumultuous seasons, or they've had some kind of up and down seasons in the last few years. The opportunities are ripe for the picking. You know, we haven't signed a striker from La Liga since Forlan in 2011, and I don't know why, because as I always say, that league, and especially those kind of middle-sized teams, are full of like decent technical forwards that are probably available for anywhere between 10 to 15 million, and you know, let alone on loan. I don't see why we never seem to explore that path, and the result is just a real kind of closed or really restricted market pool that we're exploring. And I think a correlated effect of that is we don't tend to buy very technical forwards either, and that's another thing that I think most fans would agree the team is lacking. So yeah, I think to answer your question, the financial side of it, I mean, look, we spent 7 million on Buchanan, so that implies that we do have money, and I don't know how much of the coffers that did take up. You know, maybe we had exactly 7 million and now we have precisely 0 million left, but we all know that's not how football finances work. We know that's not how a club retainer works. So if we can spend 7 million for Buchanan, I'm sure we can put together a couple million to loan someone for 6 months with an option, or like I said, even just like a dry loan. And another option that we haven't considered to explore is, again, the youth team. So I'm just frustrated at the willful decision not to address the problem and act as if there is no problem, when I think, again, the overwhelming majority of the fans will look at the forwards and only arrive at the one conclusion, which is they are a problem.
It would just be nice to see some creativity. We have tools available to us. Like we're about to sell Agume to Sevilla on a loan with a $10 million option. And I think all four of us will sit here and tell you there's a 5% chance, if maybe that might be too high, that the option gets picked up. But why couldn't we have loaned him somewhere for a $1 million fee with a lower option and means of trying to get money so we can put together a loan deal for a striker this January? Just there should be some creativity. We don't need to spend $20 million on a new player. We can bring someone on loan who just pay a salary for 6 months, looking at, let's just pretend it's someone on a $4 million gross salary. Like we're not asking for a lot of money here. We're asking for the bare minimum. And it just seems like there should be paths out there to find money for this. Like, what about the money we're going to win if we win the Supercopa? What about, I say this tongue in cheek, this $5 million the courts have ordered Juventus to pay us as a result of their latest Calciopoli appeal? There should be avenues out there for us to be able to scrunch together. What I think we need is like $2 million to take a player on loan.
Yeah, and again, the frustrating thing is they're probably not even considering these options because they don't see there's a need to, and that assessment of there's no need for it is what is the most infuriating for me and terrifying for Irfan as well.
I think you guys make it sound more easy than it really is, and the financial side regarding, for example, Buchanan signing, I think we've planned that signing, or like we've looked at the guy before, and now became the opportunity to get him now because we needed the right flank player. So that was probably not a budget for this season anyway.
But he's a permanent solution. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's like
we
a
need
budget.
a temporary solution.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't probably want any kind of temporary solutions. That's more like a longer term thing for Buchanan. Gosens was another one a few years back when we did the January transfer. And I feel like if we don't sign a striker, it is because we haven't found a proper solution for the longer term in this window.
But
I think
the solution
that's the
aside,
reason.
like, do you? Well, let me ask you: do you not think that there's a problem there with the backup strikers?
Yeah, I would definitely try to get someone. But on another note, you guys said that maybe we could buy someone for 1-2 million. Well, that's like Felipe Caicedo level player.
No, not buy someone, loan someone,
just get some dickhead on loan for 6 months.
Yeah, pay someone's wages.
But what kind of player you can get for that? Like only for loan for a salary?
Yeah, the level will not be high. We're saying that the level even needs to be high, but what level are Arnautovic and Sanchez delivering? That's not exactly high either. So
yeah, but come on, you can't like pick some random fucker from La Liga and expect him to come to Serie A and be like an effective immediately, because that's what we basically need at this point. So I don't see.
I don't know. I think the assessment of like the levels we're seeing here is a bit different. Like I'm seeing the levels that Sanchez and Arnautovic are providing the team as just pretty much, it's hard to do worse than that. Literally anyone can give what they're giving right now.
Yeah, but you are not. I think we are like in a different agreement. What's the output of these players? Okay, I can give you Sanchez.
Different agreement.
Yeah, Sanchez is not giving like he hasn't given almost anything at this point. I think Arnautovic is giving more. He's being able to play like a target player.
Even then, we only have 3 strikers under that logic.
Yeah. I understand, and that's why I would want us to sign a new striker, but I can see also the management point of view. If the financial aspects dictate that they can't like get someone expensive on loan, or if they get someone on loan, it doesn't help if they get some random guy, bring him in to the squad. Like, how they're gonna get him into the squad? To me, it feels like the squad is pretty, how do you say, they are pretty close. They want to play for each other. They pass for Sanchez to get the goal. They pass to Arnautovic to get his goals, which isn't getting. But I think it's not so easy to just try to sign someone and then just some name, and then bring him in and expect him to provide more than these guys who are already here.
But I think it's. Yeah, I think the concern is like, like when it comes to the finances, when it comes to identifying a player, quality level, that sort of stuff, I think that stuff can probably be worked out. My concern is that management or coaching or whoever it is, they're just not even interested in. It's almost like they're denying that there's a problem in the first place. So, if it's just an issue of scraping together enough money and finding the right player, then like fine. Though, like I feel like there's still enough time to kind of figure that out and get that in order. But to me, unless they're just saying it but not actually behaving that way, it seems like they're denying there's a problem at all. And that to me is a bigger issue. Like if they just don't feel like they need another forward at all, that's a problem. And that's all that seems to be being said from Inter internally. And that to me is the biggest issue. Obviously, like the finances, where that player would fit in long term, if any, and then finding the right skill set and the right kind of character to mesh with the team. All of that's, I think, legitimate, but that kind of presupposes that they've identified that this is a problem and are working towards a solution in the first place.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm worried about. I feel like they don't even think it's a problem, which I think if anyone looking at this objectively can say like, hey, this is a problem.
Yeah, the value, I feel like, and we touched upon this last week, but like pound for pound, when you look at what the backups are giving, only Augusto and Augusto and Bisek are really providing their value as backups right now. I mean, Klaassen is doing jack shit. There's an argument for Asllani there. I think is like being as absolutely objective as I can. I think Asllani is like right on the edge of, or like on a is there's a fine line whether Asllani is, you know, giving as much as he can or whether he's not. I mean, in terms of like contribution, but there's no question that Arnautovic and Sanchez are not contributing as much as they should have. Cuadrado was not able to contribute as much as we expected from him. And so, and then the midfield, right? Inzaghi never plays any of them other than Frattesi and Asllani in, like, you know, they get Eriksen minutes, like I said. So they're not, I mean, as much as Frattesi was the hero yesterday, in terms of what we paid for him, in terms of the minutes he's playing, it's obvious he's not contributing a large enough portion to the team. And yeah, sure, this partly some of this is on the manager because he's the one who makes the decisions. Maybe if Inzaghi did give more time to Arnautovic, then Arnautovic would contribute more. Who knows? There is a legitimate argument for that. But as it stands, the reality is too many backups are not contributing enough. And like I said, the only ones who are, in my opinion, are Augusto and Bisek. And yeah, and just to completely agree with Irfan saying that the worrying thing is that they don't even identify that there's a problem, and that is just mind blowing to me, especially, you know, following a game like yesterday.
Yeah, it's a concern for me as well, because we literally see no rumors of any strikers getting linked to us. And Marotta and the management keep saying that, or okay, they don't keep saying that, but Di Marzio and all the rumor guys keep saying that Inter is not looking for a striker.
Yeah.
And secretly, I'm hoping that we are doing that somehow in secret. And in the end of January, something's gonna happen, because, yeah, I have to admit, it doesn't look good. If Lautaro is gonna miss 3 straight matches, we might already lose points easily there. So yeah,
I mean,
it's a bit concerning.
We've apparently been bremered by Juventus for Thiago Giallo from Lille. So maybe we can reassign that money that was projected to be spent on Diallo for a new forward, but I digress.
Look, Miko, if Lautaro or Thuram get injured, the season's over. Like, if they miss any significant amount of time, there's absolutely no chance. We saw what this team looked like without Lautaro. Thuram, I don't think it would look all that different. We have 2 serviceable strikers, and if either gets hurt, we're cooked.
Yeah, at this point, I'd almost rather play Frattesi as a forward. He has the most goals out of any of our midfielders, which is pretty concerning considering he's played, 1/10 the minutes of Barella and Mkhitaryan. He has more goals than either of them. Excluding Çalhanoğlu, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand what's the going back to the overall kind of plan. What's the plan for Frattesi? Because going into the season, when I was thinking about him, I viewed him as eventually he will replace Mkhitaryan in the starting lineup. But they're so different in the way they play, and clearly Inzaghi values Mkhitaryan to his system way more than I think maybe anyone realized. And I'm not trying to knock Mkhitaryan, but ultimately, if we spent this much money on Frattesi, he's not going to replace Hakan. We're not going to sell Barella, and he's not going to replace Barella. So,
are you positive about that?
I just refuse to accept that that's in the realm of possibility. But if we if we paid like what 30, 35 million for this guy, and we're gonna give him like what 20, 30 minutes a game, if that. Like what's the planning there? I just don't get why. I was under the impression that he would eventually replace Mkhitaryan, and now it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. So now I'm kind of wondering what the long term plan is for Frattesi.
The long-term plan is to sell him probably at a loss next season. I mean, we just renewed Mkhitaryan for another 2 years. So,
Yeah.
Mkhitaryan is going to be nearly 38 by the time his deal expires, which is just mind-blowing to me. And yeah, look, if Miko is the Arnautovic guy, then I'm the Frattesi guy, and then I guess that makes Irfan the Pavard guy, and I don't know. We'll make Andrew the Sensi guy or something. Who knows?
Andrew is the Skamaka guy.
I'm still the Skamaka guy.
That's it. But yeah, look, I said this last week, even as the biggest Frattesi fanboy for long before he was ever rumored to the club as a serious target. I can openly say that Mkhitaryan is more conducive to the way we play because we don't have anyone else, again, besides bloody Sensi, who has that kind of slickness that Mkhitaryan does, that class, that ability to just glide between the lines and connect the midfield to attack. But Frattesi is not some Gagliardini bomb either, and people act as if he's just some Vecino who can only finish, scores,
I agree.
Goals. Frattesi, if you watch him actually start a game for Italy, or even for, I watched plenty of Sassuolo games last couple of seasons. I'd always tune in for their games against Juventus and Milan because there was obviously, of all the smaller teams, Sassuolo probably have the best record against the top 3 or 4 clubs in the country, right? And obviously I watched all their games against us, and as well as a smattering of the odd game here and there. But so I've seen plenty of Frattesi over the years. He's not like some untechnical spastic who just can't be relied on in midfield, and he's just like, a forward runner who just runs into the box and gets on the end of, on the end of balls and just puts it into the net. That's not his only quality. Again, watch him play for Sassuolo, for Italy. He can hold his own. Yes, he's not as technical, as pretty as Mkhitaryan in the way he plays, but he's not a bum either. So it's really disappointing to me that he's essentially been getting the bum minutes because he's not a bum. He can hold his own in the midfield.
I think we're gonna see him play more as the season goes on. I don't think he has like you said, he hasn't played a lot, and I think he will play more from now on because the schedule will be in February, March when the Champions League is going on, and then when we have at least one match postponed because of the Supercoppa, it will be right there. I think Frattesi will play, at least there he will play more, and hopefully we have more Champions League matches. So
I hope so, because if I'm not mistaken, once again the player who covered the most distance on the pitch yesterday was Mkhitaryan, and how long can he keep that up at 35, 36? And so just one thing I wanted to bring up while I still remember, Acerbi is starting to show his age the last couple of games, man.
De Vrij needs to get some minutes. I don't know why De Vrij is not playing more.
We have to assume it's because he's just come back from injury. I don't even think his injury was that bad, or that it means he can't even get 20 minutes at the end of the game or whatever. But Acerbi, it's kind of like, maybe this is really irreverent to our elderly statesmen, but Acerbi's got that thing where every now and again he doesn't know where he is or something. It's like an early sign of dementia. You see that happening with these. that the frequency with which that happens is a little bit. It's increasing a little bit in the last few games. I'm noticing. I'm just like, what the fuck is he doing? And considering that he's played something like 15 consecutive games, including the started 15 consecutive games, including the 2 for Italy. Do I have to say any more? I mean, he needs to be gradually phased out, not.
Yeah, he's gonna have one season in his contract next one, and I'm not sure what's the plan because De Vrij is also have this next season, and I'm thinking, will they bring like De Vrij back to the starting lineup, because it starts to be a little worrying to see Acerbi playing as a starter. Last season he was excellent and quite a surprise, at least for me. But this season, okay, mainly he's been good, but bit by bit, it feels like he's been showing this kind of what you, Jay, said, that his like performance is going
brain is
down.
starting to rot slowly.
I don't know what's rotting, but
this is Inzaghi again. He Jekos these players. Like the players that he knows are reliable and are experienced, he'll just run them into the ground. I mean, there's no reason why, even though Acerbi is very good, there's no reason why he should be playing this much all the time. Just like Mkhitaryan again. Like,
yeah,
I get it. He has a skill set that we don't otherwise have, and that's a problem in and of itself. But like, you can't play these guys who are 35 plus years old over and over and over and over again throughout the season and expect them to continue that, excellent form that they have. There's going to be a somewhat decline, and it's to be expected if you play them in and out all the time. And that's, even Darmian, I don't know if you all think that was actually a penalty in the first place, but he's been a little sloppier than usual too the last couple of matches. So that's not a coincidence. The one other quick plug I'll say, because I do want to see if you all think it was a penalty or not, but one other quick plug I'll say is a good point on DeMarco coming back, because I feel like DeMarco is kind of our last resort on a lot of times when we need a goal. Like, the players actively look to him. They're actively looking to get him the ball in like a position where he could be a problem. And so him coming back, I think, is going to help us a lot. Augusto did well, and he has certain qualities that I think are really great. But I think the team also relies a lot on DeMarco, and I think it's nice that he's going to come back, and we'll see better offensive output from us because he'll be back.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to touch on from a Mercato standpoint? Jay mentions this Giallo guy is seemingly joining Juventus, which I'm not shedding many tears about. It seems like this guy's best position is right center back, and we're well covered there with Bissek and Pavard. We probably need a left center back more than anything, just in terms of someone who can spell Bastoni, because I'm tired of Acerbi being forced to play out of position.
Bissek can supposedly play there. Not that we've seen it at Inter, but wasn't that one of his kind of marketed qualities when we first signed him, that he can play pretty much anywhere across the back line, or at least has played on both the right and the left?
Yeah, I think that's where he was subbed on in his first game too.
Yeah, so Bissek maybe can deputize for Bastoni, but Mika made despite us having some disagreements, I think Mika made a excellent point about like the kind of long, like the kind of permanent solution and the view to sustainability that has, and how much we are, I guess, taking that into consideration when signing players. So if anything, we should be looking to sign a Buchanan for centre back. Someone who can actually take that the central centre back, someone who can take that role from Acerbi or De Vrij, because as like we said, Acerbi is slowly breaking down. And Miko, you said he was good last season. I remember him pretty much trying to feed Lazio a goal when we played against them, falling over, just like slipping over and stuff. I felt he was actually pretty average in the league, and it was only towards like the end of the season, especially in the Champions League, where he started kind of developing his legacy as an Inter player, as like, this is an old dude we signed who's putting in these heroic performances and defying his age. I felt like that's largely influenced by, again, the Champions League run, as opposed to, I do think on average, and I know the whole team was pretty dismal for long parts of last season, but on average, I don't think Acerbi was like that great in the league last season either. So I'd say his best form has been 2023, the calendar year, like the second half of last season and then the first half of this season. But now that we're in 2024, he's showing his age in the last couple of games. As you know, we spoke about this as well with Damian. We said ever since he moved back to right wing back, he's starting to kind of not look as just classy as he did. I remember when you guys came back from Frosinone and we're talking about the match and who stood out to you, and you guys were saying Damian just has this elegance about him, this class that you don't expect from a guy like him. And I mentioned the same, like he's just winning these tackles like, you know, prime Skriniar style, just like sticking a foot in there and surgically stealing the ball from a player. He's looked a bit old recently, and that's 2/3 of our Champions League final starting defense that are looking to visibly kind of head down the wayside. The right side I'm not concerned about, Pavard and Bisek. The middle I am concerned about because did you say De Vrij is out of contract as well? Like, I mean, what's the deal with this guy? He's the starting.
He has 1 year, like a Jerby. They have like 2-year contracts, and this is the first one, and next one is the last one.
De Vrij was the starter for a long time, then kind of, for reasons we won't get into, had a crisis of confidence and kind of lost his spot. And now he's kind of, and for a long time, let's not forget, De Vrij was like borderline unwatchable. He was dismal for a long period of time. Now, to his credit, he seems to have recovered to the point where he's, you know, somewhat reliable again. But I don't think anyone is fooling themselves into thinking that this is like prime Conte De Vrij. So if he's not even at that level anymore, do we want him to stay on, or do we want him to reclaim the starting spot from Acerbi? I have so many questions about the center of the three center backs that, yeah, I think the left side, like Bastoni, it's got to be less of a priority than the middle right now. I mean, just purely based on the decline of Acerbi and the kind of uncertainty around De Vrij.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure because I've never seen this Thiago Chalo play, but I think maybe he would have been like a longer term option for the defense in general. But again, I've never seen him play. I don't know what are his like best qualities, or like
if they were considering him for like I know that, yeah, I also read that he was more of a right-sided centre back than a central one. But if there was any intention for him to take that Acerbi role, then I don't know. We should try and secure him, but I won't get too much into that. If ultimately he wants to go to Juventus, or if they offer more and we can't compete again, just like Bremer, then whatever, it is what it is. I guess we're no strangers to getting Bremered, but yeah.
I think the dynamics is a bit different here. We just can't.
Look, we'll consider Jallo gone. We'll consider him gone. For all effects and purposes, which is a bit annoying. Again, not a huge loss, but
but for me, I also don't consider it a big loss because I think Bisek makes him redundant in terms of like necessity, at least for next season. Sure. So,
can we touch briefly on Buchanan? The guy was signed officially with a horrendous reveal video. I really like that cheesy one where he poured maple syrup on the pancakes and then he looked in the camera and he's like, I hope we can share some good moments together. It looked like some fucking like TikTok thirst trap video or something, but I really like that one as opposed to the, generic super soldier or generic super athlete in some kind of secluded lab in the middle of the snowy forest and, the oxygen mask on. I hate that kind of stuff. So
don't be like that. Don't hate everything.
I do not like those ads. I'm not a fan of Intermedia House. Let's put it that way.
Why is everything we do so corny? That's my question.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I see this done all the time over here in America, and it's not nearly as corny. Everything in Italy feels like a giant gimmick, like playing on like international stereotypes. Like, bro, can we just introduce a player, show some highlights from the previous stop, and move on with it?
Apparently not. Apparently we need to be quirky or imaginative and then fail at doing so. But the guy was in the stands yesterday to get his first taste of Inter live, and there's probably no better match than to introduce him to the club. I think we pretty much discussed what he brings and all that kind of stuff from a tactical perspective last week. But he's official now, so yeah, welcome, I guess. What are your guys' expectations of this dude?
I don't expect him to play much, actually.
Great.
I think Dumfries will play more. Maybe even Darmian will play more, because we have this right center back situation now. I think they will try to smooth him in gradually, but I would like to see him. I would like to see him play in Serie A, because we need that speed, which he apparently has plenty of. So
100%.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see him play get a proper chance. But on the other hand, I understand if Inzaghi doesn't want to do that in terms of if the tactical aspects are not up to par yet, which is expected. But let's hope he picks it up very fast and gets on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see him play just because he's going to have different characteristics than what we have now. We know what Darmian has to offer our right wing back, which is not much offensive prowess. If we're defending a lead, if we're up 2-1 and we're trying to shut down the wing, then yeah, sure, move Darmian to right wing back. But if we're chasing a point, if we're chasing a match, we need to just give this guy a shot and let him try and make an impact on the game, because he's one of the few players we have now who can beat someone off the dribble, can win a foot race. So I don't see the need to hold back on him. Like I said, if we're trying to defend a lead, if we're in a close game, if we're going to a derby against Juve, yeah, put the guy in bubble wrap, you don't have to play him. But if it's kind of like a break glass in case of emergency situation here, where you have the skills available now, if you need them, use them. And they're probably going to be helpful over the course of the second half of the season, because, look, we're not going to go 19 more games without ever trailing, without ever needing to get a goal out of somewhere. So he's the only, I feel confident saying he's the only creative option we have coming off the bench right now.
Yeah, I think did I saw in his interview, or where was it? They talked about his offensive input. So maybe he's gonna be that kind of player who's subbed in when we need a goal, and it changes our system a bit, and it's not our typical 3-5-2, but it's a bit of a different kind of setup where Buchanan is on the right wing. Yeah.
Or how we threw on Bellanova in a Champions League final, but yeah.
Maybe let's not talk about that. Instead, get to Monza, if that works for you guys.
Yeah. Who is terrified of Monza? Put your hands up.
I am raising my hands. No. So, per my homework that Miko assigned me, I watched the Monza-Frosinone game yesterday. So let me give you some advanced scouting. So the big takeaway from the match is that Di Gregorio, who I rate quite highly, I think he's one of the 2 or 3 best keepers in the league. He got subbed off during their match with a knee injury. He tried playing through it. He just couldn't. So it seems like he's going to be out for our match. That's a huge advantage for us, because he's truly one of Monza's best players. But the best player on Monza's team, I was blown away watching this guy yesterday. Like I said, I don't watch many Monza matches normally, but Colpani's good, man. I was watching him play, and the entire time I watched him, I was thinking to myself, man, this is the guy we need to replace Mkhitaryan. It's like the silky smooth dribbler and attack. They were playing like a 3-4-2-1, which is a little unusual for Italy anyway. And he was playing as him and our Loni Carboni were playing as the 2 players supporting the strikers, and they both looked really good. but Kolpani's just next level. He's tall. He actually has a bit of that like Samardzic SMS to him, where I don't know, the quality is clear. So I was blown away watching him yesterday. He's probably the danger man. He was Monza's best player. Let me see.
Are we signing him?
I'm positive we don't have enough money for him.
I mean, it seemed like almost I don't want to say a done deal, but it seemed like the deal was 80% done, I dare say, a few months ago. And since then, pretty much radio silence.
I think it's just a rumor that we are interested in him, but I don't think it's like anywhere
Really?
close done.
I thought like, you know, of all the rumors you see and of all like the kind of players that we're linked to and the clubs we deal with, I thought this rumor about Kolpani had a lot more substance, like than your Inter going after Icardi kind of rumors.
Yeah, probably more than that, but I don't think it's like a close. But on the other hand, I think we have good relations with Galliani.
Yeah, ironically. But yeah, we have a good relationship with Monza. I mean, their entire backline yesterday, I sent you guys a photo. Di Gregorio, D'Ambrosio, Gagliardini playing as a centre-back for some reason, and then Calderola.
Actually, that actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it, though. Gagliardini is a centre-back. Just like, if you spend time thinking about it, like, yeah, this kind of works.
I don't know if it does, but the entire back four was just former Inter players. And then, of course, they had Carboni, and is the other Carboni on the bench Carboni's brother? Because, you know, there's two Carbonis. Maybe it might not be, but
isn't the one at like Regina or something?
Right. It might not be. Because the one at Monza right now is Valentin.
Yeah,
he has a brother called Franco.
Yeah, Franco Carboni. He's on the bench, but
I don't
think he's been playing. He hasn't been playing, and he's been linked to was it Ternana?
Right.
So he would go on loan there to play because, like I said, he hasn't been playing at Monza at all.
But we have good relationships with Monza, and again, they reported the deal at like a pretty advanced stage. Like Inter's, got an agreement to sign Kolpani for like 20 million, loan plus 20 million option or something next season. So hopefully, if that's, I trust the Detroit scouting. So
a lot of work into it, just trying to get results. My football manager track record is strong, but this Monza team, like if you look at it on paper, like this is a fun team, kind of. Pessina in the midfield. I don't know. It feels like they're underperforming almost a little. They're 10th in the table. I also found it somewhat interesting. I remember a couple years ago, Italy did away with the whole, like, our fixtures are no longer mirror each other. It's not like you play Monza in the first game at home and the first game of the second half of the season's away. But somehow, by hook or by crook, our first away match of this round is going to be Monza, who we open the season against. I don't know. Weird symmetries. But, yeah, away fixture to Monza. Happy to hear any of your thoughts. Obviously, we expect to win here, but this is a pretty good team, and I feel like, didn't they take points from us in both their Serie A matches in their first season back in the league?
Yeah, they did. A 92nd minute equalizer from Calderola, and then he scored again.
That's right.
That's prime Banter stuff.
He scored both goals.
So
he scored in both fixtures.
Okay.
Yep.
Motherfucker.
So the way we're playing right now, I could easily see us dropping points here.
100%.
Yeah.
Just
my optimism is gone after yesterday.
The only point, the 2 points of optimism are, one, Di Gregorio's out, and I think Monza immediately, they ended up conceding 2 goals with Di Gregorio out and none with him on the pitch, which isn't entirely fair to say, but it kind of speaks to his value, I think. And 2, I'll just say, is that we don't have a midweek fixture. We're taking it one match at a time right now. We've got this stupid Super Copa in Saudi Arabia coming up after this. So there's no reason we can't just go all out and, play our best 11 here, which is nice because we don't get these opportunities very often. Hopefully DeMarco's back starting.
Speaking of opportunities, it's a big opportunity because Juventus will play Sassuolo and Milan will play Roma. I don't expect anything from fucking Roma, but Sassuolo is a bit of a, they destroyed Juve in the reverse fixture, so hopefully there's a slight chance that either of these teams drop points. So we really need to take advantage of that and win the game. And we play first, or before these two teams at least, again anyway. So we want to go out there and, like you said, just win. Like, this is a game, unlike the game against Verona, where I'm actually happy for it to be kind of messy and scrappy and kind of go down to the wire as long as we win. But yeah, let's not make...
Yeah, do you mean that in a logic that we don't get too cocky, or what's the...
Yeah, as in, like, I expect, like, look, even against Verona, like, I don't expect any of these opponents, no matter how kind of lowly they are, to just roll over for us. I don't expect any game to go over, without any hiccups. But we suffered too much against Verona than we should have, given the gulf in class between the two sides. And as we kind of established, we escaped. I mean, we'd be having a much more negative discussion if Henry had scored the penalty. You know what I mean? So like in that instance, we had a huge chunk of luck to give us the win. And, we should be we shouldn't need a huge chunk of luck to barely scrape a insipid win against Verona. But what I'm saying is, I'm willing to accept us suffering more against Monza. It's an away game, and they're a better team than Verona for sure. And they're absolutely stacked to the brim with the former player curse. So I think, just on a side note, I think D'Ambrosio has been really weak this season. So maybe there's an opportunity for that to exploit.
Irfan, do you have any thoughts on Monza? Have you seen them play?
Suspiciously quiet for a while.
Yeah. No, I was just soaking it all in. Andrew provided a great context. That's kind of what I was thinking. Colpani is definitely, I think, a budding star, and you could see that when we played them the first time, and every match they've played since then, he's been, in a lot of ways, their kind of main catalyst. So he's going to be the danger man. We're going to have to kind of keep tabs on him. Di Gregorio being out is definitely helpful. Monza's always one of those, like, I think it'll be a tough match, but again, with our starting 11, I'm really hoping for like a just kind of clinical, business-like performance, and I'm still relatively optimistic that with all our starters in, including DeMarco, we can get our offense kind of rolling again and get it back on track. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's put it there.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the situation that Monza is probably at home. They are probably not focusing on defending and more on like trying to win the match actually. And knowing
a terrifying
Palladino,
thought.
Yeah, but in a sense, if we do it right, then we can like hit their defense hard, because we can do the counters these days with Thuram and
not against Verona.
Yeah, but there weren't many counters anyway, because they were like most just defending, and the attitude wasn't there. I'm hopeful that this time the Verona match teaches them a lesson that you need to like put full focus on every match. So cautiously optimistic, but also Colpani is a bit of a, he could be a problem for us. We need
I just don't want to see Sanchez. I don't want to see Sanchez play even a minute. I'm over it. I just don't want to see him come in.
Save him for the Supercopa, where he's known to score clutch goals.
Yes. I don't want. I mean, I don't want to jump ahead to the Supercopa, but I really hope we're not taking that shit seriously.
We are. I promise you, we are.
Yeah, because Inzaghi wants that silverware.
Yeah.
But like, if there's ever a game to play Agume when his loan move inevitably breaks down at the last minute, and Aslani and Klaassen and all these guys and Sanchez, then it's got to be that game. And Aldero, of course. I don't want to see us waste any, waste too many first teamers on that game.
We're already wasting our time and efforts flying to Saudi Arabia to play this game.
Exactly.
It's the prize money, which will surely not go towards the mercato, is not worth the consequences of having to exhaust your players playing in these meaningless games. But we can save our Super Copa preview for next episode. Irfan, give me a Monza prediction.
Oh man, I'm going 2-1 Inter. Lautaro with both goals. Kopani with the one for Monza.
Miko?
I'm also going 1-2 Inter win. Lautaro will get the first goal and then Çalhanoğlu penalty. That's the easy prediction. Monza goal will be Carboni kid.
I'll do Jay's prediction for him. 3-0 Monza, goals from D'Ambrosio, Gagliardini, and Calderola.
Yeah. You literally, I was going to actually say 5-0, and then add Colpani and Carboni to that, but
Di Gregorio.
6-0 Di Gregorio. I don't know. It's tough. Like, I really need to see evidence that the two games against Genoa and Verona were just like a slight dip and we're back. You know what I mean? I want to believe that, you know, I mean, it felt stupid as hell celebrating some guy missing a penalty as like the last moment of the game. But ultimately, like I said, we escaped from the game against Verona with smiles on our faces. So I want to think that is an impetus to kind of restoring the mojo of the team. If that's the case, then I can see us winning. I don't know, 2-1, 3-1, something like that. But if we're going to start playing the game, or if we're going to go into the game the same way we played against the last two games, then 1, I can see us drawing, maybe even losing. 2, then it becomes a much greater worry because a 3-game stretch is, just exponentially more worrying than a 2-game stretch of poor form, and then gives more weight to the evidence or to the theory that Inzaghi's teams generally tend to dip in January. So, yeah, I mean, are we over the momentary lapse, or are we still in it? That's the question. And I'll predict anywhere from a kind of painful win to a dismal loss. But I'm going 2-1 Inter, and I'll give a goal to Sanchez. No. I'm going to give it to Arnautovic. I'm 100% serious. I think he's going to score. And I think DeMarco will score the other one. And then I think Calderola will score for Monza.
Of course he will. It's hard to feel optimistic going into this game based on just how poor we've been lately and the fact that we've struggled against Monza since their return to the league.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards a pessimistic prediction. I was just wowed too much, by Monza's overwhelming performance against Frosinone yesterday and their 3-2 win. I don't know. It's just this game will go a long way towards showing us, okay, is this a true downtick in form where we have something to be worried about as we look forward to these like Super Copa games, or is this just a blip in the radar? We've got our feet back under us and we're going to march forward on a Scudetto race. This is a critical game, really, when you view it through that lens, and I hope we can get the result done, but I'm just not seeing enough right now to make me optimistic. So I will go with a 2-2 draw with goals from Lautaro, Thuram, I don't know,
Pessina,
Colpani, and Mata. I'm kind of out on Pessina. I feel like he has not impressed me in a game basically since he scored 2 goals in Euros for Italy like 2 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought he'd be like, kind of Monza's star when he moved there, because that was like his childhood club, and he was a pretty good player at Atalanta, or like an important player. So moving to, he becomes like a big fish in a small pond when he moves to Monza, but he's just kind of fallen off the radar completely, So
the one player I realized is on Monza's bench is a longtime supporter of the pod, Armando Izzo. Him and Jay often share gambling tips with each other, so just look out for that.
A De Vrij replacement.
We love a good neck tattoo. We'll call this an episode. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week with a recap of the Monza fixture and a look ahead to this glorious, glorious Supercopa. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you then.
Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.
Good time.